Good morning, senior parents to be. Thank you so much for coming out bright and early. We're going to go on and get started. I will let you know if you have friends that were unable to attend, the PowerPoint will be posted on my webpage, and it is being recorded also, and I will upload that probably early next week. Just FYI for you. For those of you that I haven't had the opportunity to meet, I'm Ms. Chisum. I'm the college counselor, and this is Ms. Dixon. To my right, to your left, Ms. Dixon's the 12th grade counselor. To give you a little background for us, we've been here a long time. We've been here since the first graduating class in 08. Ms. Dixon was actually the first guidance counselor here, and I came in 2007, and we worked with that first graduating class in 08, and have worked with all of them since then. We've been friends for over 25 years, and we've been doing this a while. So anyway, we know we have a lot of information. We know we're going to give you an enormous amount of information. That's why we've given you the PowerPoint, a copy of it. So kind of buckle in and hang with us. We will take Q&A at the end. If you do have to slip out to get on to work, we certainly understand that, and you can email either of us. Our contact info's in the back. So we'll go on and jump in and get started, so just buckle in and bear with us.
Good morning. The first thing we like to share, and we share this with your seniors, class of 2023, it's surreal that it's almost here. This year has just flown by. But in the fall, we do share with them most of this information that we're sharing with you today. So we kind of want to give you all the leg up on what's coming in the fall. So we're always very clear about our roles with the students, and we want you to have this information as well. So I am everything before graduation. So that involves their credits, their schedule, qualifying for graduation, grades, teachers, feeling anxiety, anything that they come in prior to graduation and have questions about. Mrs. Chisum is everything after graduation, post-secondary, workforce, military, 2-year, 4-year college, all of those resources for college, those recommendations, those nominations. Mrs. Chisum handles all of that information. So we always like to make sure that everyone understands our roles. We tell students we're Velcroed together. Usually if you see one, you see the other very soon after, just because like this year we have 530 seniors. I think class of 2023 is even larger, and just so we just know the stories about what's going on with your students. As far as senior conferences are concerned, we meet with the seniors in a big group in study hall by English teacher twice a year. So we meet in August to lay out, this is what your year should look like, this is what you need to start working on, this is your focus. And then we meet with them again in April. So we just met with our current seniors the first Friday in April to kind of talk about closeout, graduation, things that they need to know. So we'd like to have those meetings so everybody's kind of hearing that information at the same time. There's a whole lot of energy when the seniors are together for the first time, and so we always love that. We do have an open door policy. We have each grade level counselor and college and career counselor has a notebook and guidance that they sign to see us, but certainly if there's something immediate going on, they can come in guidance and talk to Ms. Buchanan. Let me just shout out Ms. Buchanan. Stand up, Ms. Buchanan. She is our registrar, rock star, right there in tandem with us, doing everything, and so she is invaluable. So, and she's going to have a senior parent, so she's right there with you. She's going to have a senior, so she's going to be a senior parent. So anytime you come in and you have a situation, Ms. Buchanan lets us know, and we work with your baby. We have senior weekly newsletters that go out, and if you've been a senior parent before, you're familiar with this. The first Monday after Labor Day, Mrs. Chisum starts sending out these senior newsletters. So this year, it'll be August 29th, and so we use the emails that are in Power School. And so once those start, everything that's related to your senior is rolled out through that newsletter. Holland Studios pictures, baby pictures for the yearbook, scholarships, who's going to be on campus, everything is rolled out through that newsletter. The seniors also receive this newsletter. So whatever your senior is getting, you are also receiving in the newsletter. And then we also have SCC reps, senior communication reps in each English class reviewing that newsletter. So we have multiple outlets for you all and your seniors to be informed about what is going on.
Okay, let's go and jump in because we get asked a lot about applying to college next year. So let's talk about this real quickly. It is always our goal, whether your senior next year is going to 2-year, 4-year VOTEC, doesn't matter. We want them to apply to 3 to 5 schools. We encourage them, apply to your dream school. We have no idea what the competition will be next year. When they start applying in the fall, we have no idea what the competition will be. So apply to that dream school. But everyone needs to apply to a backup school also. It doesn't matter if you're at the top of the class or middle of the class, it doesn't matter. Because there's a lot that plays out from August next year till May 1, which is National Decision Day. There's a lot of things that play out. Financial aid or lack thereof, scholarships or lack thereof. Everyone applied to that school or no one did. Those are all unknowns to us in the fall. So that's why your senior will be told in the fall next year when Ms. Dixon and I meet with them and give them the senior handbook. We've written a senior handbook. It tells you step by step each month what to be doing. They'll all get that in the fall, but they do need to go on and start applying. We encourage them to have their applications in by November. And let us tell you why. Most application deadlines for admission, especially at most state schools, UT, Memphis, all of those are rolling, which means you could apply anytime. You could apply in December, you could apply next February, you could apply in March. However, their scholarship deadlines are very early. I'll use UT as an example. Their scholarship deadlines to be evaluated and considered for all scholarships at UT, they have to have the complete application, the transcript, everything in by November 1. And if you do it after that, you're not going to be considered for all the scholarships that they have. So we really encourage seniors next year, get all your applications in. Wherever you're applying, early. Get the transcript there, take care of all of that. Because after that, we'll do things in stages next year. After that will come FAFSA and financial aid. We'll talk about that in just a minute. Then we continue to look for scholarships, but we're going to do things in phases. But if you kind of kick that can down the road, you're kind of limiting yourself and ruling out some options. The application process is listed there. Obviously, they go to the college website, they complete the application. Online is what they do. But there are 3 steps to applying to a college, and until you've done all 3, you haven't applied. Completing that application is step 1. They also need an official transcript sent from Arlington High School directly to the school, and that's something Ms. Buchanan takes care of as registrar, and she's amazing at that. And we're going to talk about how to request that official transcript. Seniors will get 2 unofficials next year. We'll share that with you in a minute. But the college must have an official one sent directly from us. The 3rd step is they've got to have those ACT scores, and they have to come from ACT. We cannot send them because we're a third party. So the university or VOTEC school or 2-year school must have it sent directly from ACT to them, just like the transcript must be sent directly to them. But those are the 3 steps to apply. And again, until you've done all 3, the application is not complete. Let me talk about Common App just a minute. You'll hear a lot about this next year. There are about 900 colleges across the country that use what's called Common App, as opposed to having their own application. For example, University of Memphis has their own application. You go to the University of Memphis website, you fill out their application. But when you go to CBU or Rhodes or UT, Mississippi State, Ole Miss, when you click on apply, it's going to take you to a Common App website. Don't think anything's wrong. They just agreed to use Common App. So you'll hear that a lot. The thing about Common App is your senior will do 1 application and they can send that to multiple schools if those schools accept Common App. And again, some do and some don't. Every college has their own rules and own guidelines. The other piece about Common App is it has a lot of pieces to it. It's not just the application. It has an essay, it has teacher recommendations attached. I have to do a secondary report and a mid-year report. It has a lot of pieces to it because it's all encompassing. Because again, a lot of universities and colleges take that. So if you apply for admission, if you click on Rhodes or click on CBU or UT, and it takes you to Common App, that's okay. Like I said, a lot of schools do that, but just as many do not. Alabama doesn't, Memphis doesn't, Southwest doesn't. It's kind of a mixture. It depends on those schools.
Let's talk for a moment about the transcripts. Mrs. Chisum already mentioned that those transcripts are part of the admission process. And so you can actually click on the Scrib web link from our Arlington webpage. If you scroll to the bottom, it says transcript request, and it walks you through. Your student would be a current student, and then you just follow the steps for how you want to apply for that. Send that transcript to that particular school. ACT scores, as Ms. Chisum mentioned, goes to act.org. And so transcripts, unofficial transcripts are given to seniors twice a year. We give them the first set of unofficial transcripts, so that's an if they earn 8th grade credit, but it's 9th grade all the way through the end of 11th grade. That's that transcript that they receive the week of Labor Day. We have Labor Day that Monday, and they come back and they'll get those unofficial transcripts through their English teachers. I give them the transcripts to the students again in January, because that's after their first semester of senior year. Those grades have been stored in PowerSchool, and I can run the transcript again. So they do receive unofficial. Your current juniors have an unofficial in a different form. It was called their graduation check sheet, and that listed their GPA, it listed the credits that they've earned, and kind of a check sheet for what is left as they were filling that out. But the actual unofficial transcript that seniors look at, and we ask them to really look at it, especially if you transferred in from somewhere, make sure that it's correct. But you can see this is exactly what a college will look like, except when it goes to the college, except theirs is unofficial.
One more thing I want to say about transcripts. When you go in and request it, or your senior does, we hope, goes to the Arlington webpage in that bottom right-hand corner. Once you request it, Ms. Buchanan, our registrar, gets an alert, and she processes those within 2 to 3 days. So she sends them electronically directly to the request site, whatever university or college that is. Please note, and I know Ms. Dixon made reference to, I want to clarify, transcripts are updated twice a year. They're updated in August, and they're updated in January. So think about that just a minute. So right now your junior, as Ms. Dixon said, has a 6th semester, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, has a 5th semester transcript, because that's been through December of the first part of their junior year. It will not be updated until August. And that's a misconception. Like a lot of times people, junior parents will think, well, it's May, it's June, and second semester is over. Hasn't the second semester been added? Second semester, spring semester is added at the same time summer is added. It's done in August. So anything requested throughout the summer is only going to be that 5th semester until August, when they get that. They're updated twice a year. And like Ms. Dixon said, in January, they're updated then. But your senior will get an unofficial next year of that. Just wanted to clarify that. Let's talk a minute about letters of recommendation. And I've given some tips about letters of recommendation. Obviously, we ask seniors next year if they need a letter of recommendation, they know that they need a letter of recommendation. Please do not walk up to a teacher or me the day before. There will be 550 plus of them next year. I write all the counselor letters of recommendation. So just do the math on that. October, November, December, that's basically what I'm doing. Weekends, nights, that's what I'm doing, is letters of rec. I take them very seriously. Our teachers take them very seriously. I will have each of you in the fall complete a parent brag sheet. Your senior, I'll have your seniors complete one. Their first assignment in senior English next year is to do a resume. All of that stays in my office. No one else has access to it, so whatever you write on there is confidential for me. Get to know your senior better. When I get ready to write a recommendation, I'm going to talk to some of their teachers, some of their previous counselors, and then I sit down with a blank piece of paper and I start writing. Our teachers and myself do closed letters of rec. What that means is we don't write a letter of recommendation and hand it to your senior to make 10 copies. That doesn't have near the integrity and near the weight of a closed letter of rec. That has a lot more weight and a lot more benefit for them, and that's how we process letters of rec. Another rule of thumb on letters of recommendation, a lot of seniors will think more is better. And let me give you an example. Some colleges do not require rec letters at all. Memphis does not, Alabama does not. Others require 2 or 3, and they're very specific about who they want to be. You want to do exactly what the college says. More is not better. In this world, more is not following directions. That's not looked on positively. If they want a coach or a pastor or a teacher, that's exactly what you want to do. If it's a core subject teacher, that's an English, a math, a science teacher. Be very specific in what it said. If there's a guidance one, again, that will be me. And it takes time. It takes time for me to get those done. I do those as they come in, but they pile up quickly. Again, 500 of them, they pile up, and I'm working night and day on getting them, but we take every one of them seriously. We want your senior next year to have as many opportunities as possible, so we do take the letters of rec very seriously.
College visits are also important. Mrs. Chisum and I are firm believers that students really need to take college visits. College websites are designed for teenagers, user-friendly for them to find all that information. But of course, stepping on a college campus and getting a feel for it, the energy, we want them to have those experiences. So definitely take advantage this summer if you all are going on family vacation and you're near a college that your student is thinking about. You can always set up a tour. They are allowed 2 college visits throughout the school year. It is put in as a field trip if you follow directions carefully, so it does not impact their attendance. So the procedures must be followed. They can pick up a college visit form from the guidance office prior to the visit. Those college visit forms are also on Mrs. Chisum's website. The day that they come back from their college visit, they're bringing that form, and they're also bringing that proof from the college. So admissions knows that when you set up a college visit, there's a printout that they will give you with your student's name, and both of those documents have to come to Ms. Buchanan, and then Ms. Chisum signs off on it, and it goes into Power School as a field trip. So we definitely want them to take advantage of those visits to get a feel. And you can go beyond the standard tour. You can ask to speak to someone in that department if your student is thinking about a specific major. So make the most of those visits.
When you get the senior handbook next year, there's a whole section in there about taking a college visit and what questions to ask. Colleges are really good about lining up their dogs and ponies and really impressing your senior and, you know, the football games or going to the bookstore or the cafeteria and Starbucks and all that kind of great, you have the dorms and how great that is. But there's a whole list of questions in there, things you want to ask, like how many students return after the first year? How many graduate within 4 years? Those are things you as a parent want to know. I mean, those are kind of things, and I've got a whole list of those in there. But Ms. Dixon's right, we're huge advocates of visits. You've got fall break and spring break. Going on a visit and your senior turns to you after an hour and says, can we go to lunch and leave? That's not a wasted trip, it's an answer. I think the hardest thing, as a parent myself several years ago, taking college visits was keeping my mouth closed, because I would have an opinion about how great this was and exciting, and hers was quite the opposite. And this was her journey, so I think that was one of the hardest things to do. Let's jump into money. Let's talk a little bit about money. We're going to talk a little bit about financial aid and hit on that. When we talk about financial aid, we're talking about items on the screen. We're talking about TSAC. You'll hear a lot about TSAC. That's the Tennessee Student Assistance Corporation. That's the governing agency over the Hope Lottery and the Tennessee Promise in our state, and they oversee all that, and enormous other scholarships, and you can go on their website and see all those that are offered. We talk about FAFSA, we're talking about federal monies, is what we're talking about when we use that term. Next slide talks a little bit more about FAFSA. After your senior has applied to their colleges, after you have completed FAFSA, which we're fixing to address in just a minute, if your senior has applied to a school, been accepted to the school, and you listed it on FAFSA, you will get what's called an FAR, a financial award letter, in the spring, and that's where the real numbers are. Because before that, they may have been offered $5,000 or $1,000 or $500, but you're still like, okay, but what about room and board? What about all these other costs? The FAR really breaks it down, and that's where they will offer, okay, you can get this grant and this scholarship and this loan and so forth and so on. Seniors now have been getting their FARs since spring break, so senior parents currently are like really trying to make those decisions now. Don't get the cart before the horse. Let that money roll in, sit down at the kitchen table, and you can make those decisions. The thing about the FARs is they'll list everything that's available to them, but it's not all or none. And some colleges are really good at spelling that out, others are not. They will send you a letter and say sign at the bottom, and it could have loans on there that you don't want to take out, Parent Plus, Stafford, subsidized, unsubsidized. So it's not all or none. You can cherry pick off that list, so that's important to remember. We will have a financial aid night. We always have that in the fall. We have someone come from the state. Miss Orr usually comes and walks you through the FAFSA and walks through all the specifics about financial aid, and I will email that all out to you. Once again, using your email that's in PowerSchool that you submitted. So always make sure that's up to date because we'll send information out through there. But stay tuned for the financial aid night and we'll go more in detail about that. Let's talk just a little bit about FAFSA. FAFSA is the free application for federal student aid, and you will all do FAFSA next year, and you will need to do it in the window of time on the screen between October 1 and January 1. I often hear from parents, as I do always, well, we're not going to qualify, well, we're not eligible, so forth and so on. FAFSA is an application for an enormous amount of pots of money. Yes, it's for Pell Grant, based on household income. It's also for the Hope Lottery, if your senior's eligible for that. It's also for work study, if they want to work on campus. It's also for any loans that you need to take out. But let me let you in on a secret. A college may make your senior aware that they're eligible for scholarships, but they cannot officially award that money to them until they have a FAFSA on file for your senior. So everyone needs to do FAFSA. There's only one website to do it. Sadly, there are a lot of BOBO sites out there. Please be careful when you get into that. Please notice the first word, it's the free application. If you get on a website that says we'll do it for $50 or $95, get out of there as quick as you can. But when Miss Orr comes in the fall, she'll walk you through FAFSA. That's usually held in September, so she'll kind of walk you through in tips and pitfalls to look for. So don't get overwhelmed by it. Like I said, we'll do things in stages and know that that's coming, and she's real good at walking everybody through that. Okay, next thing we're going to talk about quickly is scholarships. And when we use the word scholarships, we're talking about things listed on the screen. We're talking about athletic, we're talking about merit and academic, obviously those community scholarships. And the thing about scholarships is you can't double dip. And what I mean by that is if the first requirement at a school is that you have a 21 and a 3.0, but there's also another scholarship for a 25 and a 3.4, you can't get both of those. You cannot double dip in the same pot, but you can get money from different pots. If your student is eligible for an athletic and for an academic, and they get some community ones, they can stack those scholarships. The term, getting a full ride is not so often anymore. That's a misnomer. You don't hear that a lot, but a lot of times when students get most of it covered, it is because they've stacked it. Applying for scholarships is work. I'm going to tell you that right now. Seeking them out is work. Are there an enormous amount of scholarships that are untapped out there? Yes, but they have very specific criteria. You got to live in Pennsylvania and have a blue eye and a brown eye and so forth and so on. I mean, they're really, really specific. In the fall, when we meet with your senior, they will get a scholarship source sheet, which is loaded with scholarships. It's also has scholarship search engines on there. I don't list any on there unless a senior from Arlington has been awarded a scholarship, because once again, sadly, there are a lot of fraudulent ones out there. So please be careful. If you have questions, please ask us. We get asked that a lot. Ms. Chisum, is this valid? Ms. Dixon, is this real? Please do that before they start putting personal information out there. But when we talk about scholarships, this is what we're talking about. It's what's on the screen. And again, every college does it different. I'll give you an example. When you apply for admission to Memphis, you're also applying for the academic and merit, all in one. If you apply to Mississippi State, when you apply for admission, you're applying for admission. They have a separate merit or academic scholarship application. So you've got to look at each site differently. They're all very individual in how you do that. Don't want you to miss out on any of those opportunities. Okay. Let's talk a little bit about Hope Lottery, because Hope Lottery is applicable to any 2 or 4-year school in the state of Tennessee. And the requirements are, as you can see, a 3.0 unweighted or a 21 or higher on the ACT. And how you apply for the Hope Lottery, is you complete your FAFSA, and that goes to FAFSA World, and then it's sent out to the colleges. You've listed Tennessee, that you're a Tennessee resident, so that is then eventually makes its way to my desk, and then by law, the day after graduation, I go in and verify all 550 of them as eligible or ineligible for HOPE, and that's when those monies are deposited at the university, at the college, once I verify their eligibility. You can see the breakdown. It's $1,750 a semester, and then it increases. It used to not be that way. It's a total of $16,000. It used to be evenly divided, but when HOPE first started, and we remember when HOPE started. We've been a long time as Dixon. Remember when HOPE started? After the first year, after so many credit hours that a student earns, HOPE Lottery reevaluates, and they have to have a certain GPA, a 2.75 at the college level. And what they were finding out is after the first year, after the second year, over 2/3 of them were losing it. They weren't able to maintain that GPA requirement. So the state of Tennessee backloaded that money. So as you see, it's a smaller amount the first couple of years, and then they backload. It's heavier the last 2 years. There is something called the GAMS. That's the second point on there. That's the General Assembly Merit Scholarship. If your senior has a 29 and a 3.75, they get an additional $500 a semester. So that's another opportunity. Remember, HOPE only applies to schools in the state of Tennessee.
Another Tennessee scholarship that we have is Tennessee Promise, and that is for students who are thinking about a 2-year college in the state of Tennessee. There are some colleges like Austin Peay University and Tennessee State University that have 2-year programs, and if your student wants to go there and use that Tennessee Promise, they can. We encourage all of our students to apply for Promise. So from the top of the class all the way to the last in the class. We always encourage them to apply for it because you never know what's going to happen. And invariably, some years there are students in Ms. Chisum's office in the spring, you know, they thought that money was there or something tragic happened in the family and they don't have anything, but they did apply for Promise. And so for students who are thinking about 2-year, and you'd be surprised, there are a lot of students who are saying, I'm just going to take my time, I'm going to go to a 2-year college, kind of ease into it, and then transfer to another school for various reasons. They don't all have to go to Southwest. There are a number of community colleges across the state. Some who desire to go to Knoxville, go to Pellissippi Community College first, or go to Chattanooga State, or there are all these options. So we encourage them to explore that. One good thing about Promise for those that are going to take advantage of it, they're assigned a mentor, and they kind of follow them through the process, check on them, make sure that they're staying on track with their process. The application is simple. There's one application that they fill out. We have the students do that through English class, and we follow up with them to make sure that everyone has done it. There have been, in the past, 8 hours of community service that are required by July 1, and so because of COVID, they've done that various ways. They've done webinars, and you get 8 hours of your credit through watching webinars. So every year it changes, and so once we know, we share that with seniors. So the application deadline is November 1. It's available August 1, and we push that out through the English classes, and they're great about having the students fill it out.
The next thing I want to mention to you briefly is Academic Common Market. There are 15 southern states that are a part of ACM. And what that means basically is if no state school in the state of Tennessee offers a major, examples are on the screen. We do not offer petroleum engineering anywhere in the state of Tennessee at a state school. We do not offer language and international health, but they are offered at those schools listed. If your senior applies there and is admitted there, they get to pay in-state instead of out-of-state. And you can see the difference. Let's take petroleum engineering. As an in-state, it's $11,000 a year as opposed to $28,000. And you can see at Clemson the difference in their international health, significant difference. So, and we do have a lot of, not a lot, we have quite a few seniors that do this because they're really set on one school, but you want to look, you can go on the ACM website, you can see those majors that aren't offered to Tennessee residents, you can see the schools that do offer them and if it lines up or not. But that's just another option I wanted to make you aware of. That's just another little secret. If you're looking at a school that's out of state, you can consider one of those, and if one of those majors line up. We
want to talk briefly about the GPA and the LAUD system. We have a great thing on our website. It's called the Program of Studies, and Mrs. Penny, our vice principal, put together all this information in the program of study. In the very front of it, around pages 9 through 11, is a lot of information about graduation requirements, also about GPA in our laud system. So we used to have class rank, and now it is laud, and so that's the ACS policy 4.605. That's listed in the program of study, and so we just want to make you aware of that, that it's based on weighted GPA, and so class of 2022 is the first to follow this system with the summa cum laude, magna cum laude, and cum laude system, and that's there on the screen. We always want to remind students about the GPA. That is, as Ms. Chisum said, is by semester only. It is not by each 9 weeks. Sometimes students think that their GPA is recalculated each 9 weeks. It is not. It's only determined by semester after those grades are stored, and then the GPA is recalculated. And there's the link also there in the fine print if you want to look at it. But that program of study is a great resource, not only about courses, but just all things about graduation, GPA, law, all of those pieces of information. Seniors have exam exemptions, and they have varied a little bit because of the COVID that we've been going through each semester. So in a normal year, when you're not dealing with COVID, it's 3 excused absences in a 90 or higher in your classes, and so that's by teacher by period. We have had underclassmen who had exam exemptions in the spring, but seniors is fall and spring, okay, and have a chance to be exempt. This year, our seniors, it's a 90 or above, that still stands, but it's just excused absences. So if they had unexcused absences, then you don't qualify for those exam exemptions. So we always tell students to make sure that you double check with your teachers about that. As far as the ACT is concerned, we are an ACT state. So because it is a graduation requirement, there's not a specific score that the students have to earn, but they do have to take the ACT prior to graduation. So the state a few years ago started offering it to the juniors. So your juniors just took the ACT for free in March here on campus. They will have an opportunity again for a senior state ACT in October. And Dr. Turner is our state ACT coordinator. So she coordinates that and registers all of your students for that ACT. One thing we want to point out is we never want students to wait until junior year to take the ACT. So if they have only just taken it in March, we encourage them to keep taking it. There's June, there's July, and then of course September, October, December. December should really be the last time that the student takes the ACT unless the college asks them to take it again. There are opportunities for our students to get their hands on an actual ACT, and that's there on the screen. Order your ACT December, April, or June. And when you're going through the process of registering for a test on ACT.org, you'll get to a screen that asks you, if it's, for example, June, do you want to purchase the test? And I believe it's an additional $20. ACT is for profit, so they charge for everything. So it is an additional $20, but you get your test, you get your students' answers, and you get the correct answers. So oftentimes we hear students say, well, I'm struggling with science. I can't get above, an 18. I don't know what I'm doing. But a lot of times if they purchase that test and see their answers and the correct answers, they can kind of see where they went wrong or what they need to work on. So we always encourage students to do that if possible.
I was going to say that the test answers are actually $30 now.
It's $30.
And ACT raised its prices.
Well, it seems that every year they are raising, every fall, it seems that they have raised their prices, unfortunately.
Yeah, with the ACT and answer booklet, you're looking at least $90.
We have found, though, the students have come back who have taken advantage of that, have found some use with it, especially as they're practicing and timing themselves for the tests and those test sub-scores that they need to work on, that it is helpful. But certainly that's a family decision if you decide to do that. Thank you for sharing.
And the ACT website does have free practices online.
It does. And let me make this last point about the ACT. Just taking the ACT over and over is not going to make the score. It's not going to happen magically. We love to tell seniors all the time, there's 5 parts to ACT. There's the English and the reading and the math and the science and the test. They've got to learn the test and how that test works. And investing in that and what you score on that has significant impact on the back end with scholarships and opportunities. There are tutoring opportunities on campus. They took a 10th grade ACT course here, but it's money, and we know it is, but again, it pays on the back end. It always does in qualifying. One other thing I wanted to make reference to, and Ms. Dixon was talking about the cum laude system. We get asked a lot why we switch from ranking to cum laude. And your senior may be applying for a scholarship next year, and it'll say, what is their rank? And we're a non-ranking high school now. We do not rank our students. There's no number 1, number 2, number 3. We do not rank them. And I'll give you just a thumbnail background on that. When we started looking at it as a district, about 50% of high schools across the nation ranked and 50% did not. It's now about 60-40, about 60% do not rank, and we're a part of that. A lot of your competitive schools, high schools and all, do not rank. As you know, the master schedule has a lot to do with that, and I'll give you an example. Ms. Dixon would see this all the time in working on senior schedules. A senior wanted to take 4 AP classes, and 2 or 3 of them were offered the same period, because that's the way the master schedule fell. Well, that then impacted the courses they could take and their GPA and therefore their rank. So all of that, so whether they ended up number 8 or 9 or number 17 or 18 often had to do with the way the master schedule rolls out. Where on the cum laude system, every senior is evaluated based on their selections and their courses and their GPA and their leadership and their activities. And colleges are leaning that way more, also doing it holistic admissions. Long time ago, it was this GPA, this ACT, you're in or out. But you're seeing more of these holistic admissions where they're looking at the whole picture. So cum laude kind of fell in that category. So just want to give you a little background on that. The next screen we have on here is athletes. I don't know if we have any athletic parents in the auditorium, but I do want to make reference to that. If you believe that your senior will be playing competitively at the college level, they must be cleared by NCAA or NAIA. And there's procedures to doing that. You either register, every college is either an NCAA school or an NAIA school. You go on those websites, you fill out an application, you have to have Ms. Buchanan send a transcript there and they evaluate them. All of that needs to be done by December 1 senior year, because it takes time for NCAA Eligibility Center to evaluate them and to process that. So if you think your senior next year may be playing competitively, look at the schools, are they NCAA or NAIA, and take care of that. Don't miss out on taking care of that.
Holland Studios will come out in the spring to meet with the juniors to talk about senior picks. And so we just want to make you aware of this ahead of time. So Holland Studios is our official vendor that we use for the senior picks in the yearbook. That does not mean that next fall or over the summer, if you decide to take senior picks with your students in certain locations, that you have to go through Holland Studios. You do not. That is purely a personal decision. But Holland Studios has always done our pictures for our yearbook. Their contact number is on the screen. It will also be in that packet when they come out and meet with the seniors. So you have to schedule a photo session this summer, and you'll see at the bottom about the tux drape and the casual pick. They will do that, and that will show up in the yearbook. So go ahead, it wouldn't even hurt to call and just kind of see what's available for June and July, especially based on your vacation and travel and things of that sort, to go ahead and get that schedule. But that's usually, I think in May that Holland Studios comes out, but that contact information, just so you know that that's coming down the pike. This is just a list of graduation recognition. This is also listed in our program of studies between pages 9 and 11, just about the different graduation recognitions, and we go over that with the seniors as well. Ms. Chisum is going to talk about the resources that are available to seniors. Let me just point out, too, that we just really, really love. College 14N is it's a great place to start if you want your students to look at Tennessee schools. And they have revamped, they spent about a year revamping that website, College 14N. And you can go to that and you can look at different colleges just to kind of get an idea of some schools that you're thinking about. College Pays 10 is also there about the scholarships. And we love the collegeboard.org website because that links to something called Big Future. That's another way for seniors, rising seniors this summer as they're thinking about their schools, to go ahead and look at certain colleges. What are the requirements for those schools? What do they have to offer? We always tell students, you have something to offer that college and they have something to offer you. So definitely those are three that we just love to talk about.
Okay, so let's kind of, as Ms. Dixon said, these are some sample resources. Also, when we meet with them in the fall, we'll give them another list of resources. But these are great jumping off places about what do I major in, what are schools or what's available out there, to kind of get in there and start looking around and taking a look at them. The next screen is what do we do this summer? And I've listed it out for you right here. Take those college visits. We cannot stress that enough. Walk on those campuses. It's going to be their home for the next 2 years or 4 years. You need to walk the campus. Please have a realistic financial conversation with your senior. Nothing is more sad than Ms. Dixon and I, and we're having some of those conversations right now, where seniors thought all year that this is where they were going to school, and now here we are, and there's no money. There wasn't any money. There wasn't any money saved. They aren't eligible for anything. That's why we have those backups, and those are some difficult conversations to have. So what can mom and dad assist with? What can they not assist with? What's available? This is the range of school we're looking at. Those are honest conversations that need to be had. So please start having those with them. Obviously, register with scholarship search engines. Some of them were on that previous screen. Register for those ACTs and contact Holland Studios, which we've already talked about. Now, what will we be doing first semester next year? This is what they'll be doing. They'll be taking the ACT. We've already talked about that. You're going to register with NCAA or NAIA. We've covered that. Register for tutoring. Check that newsletter. I cannot stress the newsletter enough. Every Monday that we're in school, Ms. Dixon and I will send out that newsletter. So everything that's said here to your senior, and Ms. Dixon covered some things, scholarships and what universities on campus, and Coach Pfeiffer needs baby pics, and winter prom tickets going on sale, and whatever. I'm going to loop you in on that every Monday. So you're going to hear exactly what they're hearing, so that you're not thinking, well, they didn't bring it home. I'm going to give you that same information. So check that. We've talked about FAFSA. When you're going to complete that and when the deadline is, take advantage of those visits dates. You're going to order your invitations and keepsakes in the fall. Balfour will come out in the fall and meet with your seniors. They all come in here, and it's a real exciting time. And they'll give them a packet, and they get to order invitations and sweatshirts and keychains and all that kind of good stuff. We often tell them, and we're going to tell your senior this in the fall, it's real exciting. They're going to bring the packet home, and they're going to want everything in the packet. And we remind them that stuff, all those items will come about right now. Our seniors currently are getting that right now. So what's the window of time that they can wear those items? Because they're certainly not going to, the current seniors are not going to walk on a campus next year with a senior 2022, because that screams, I'm a freshman. So be excited. Certainly let them purchase some of that stuff, but be frugal and be wise about that. And obviously we're going to apply for scholarships. We've talked about that, and a lot of that will be coming through the newsletter and in those applications that you fill out. I'm going to give you a heads up about what you're going to do second semester next year. You're going to continue to apply for any of those scholarships. You'll see those on the newsletter. You're going to pay for your graduation dues, which are $100. Remember, in the fall, you ordered announcements and keepsakes, but in the spring is when you do the graduation dues of $100. And that covers everything graduation related. The cap, the gown, the stole, the programs, the cost of the facility, security, everything that's involved with that. We do have some seniors that kind of pay all along. They pay us $10 a month. You want to start doing that next fall, that's great. You want to wait and pay the $100 by the deadline in the spring, that's whatever works best for you and your family. We do want them to bring in all of their letters of acceptance and scholarship. That's a really exciting time. We have the senior wall in the guidance office, and our seniors get to fill out their pennants and put it on the wall, and they can watch each other all year. What's happening right now for the last 2 weeks is we have a senior photo booth going, and seniors are able to come by representing their post-secondary, whether it's a welding helmet or scrubs or Yale University, it doesn't matter. They're on the cameras all around campus and going to be on social media, so we want to celebrate that. Another big thing at graduation, when Ms. Dixon and I go to the podium, we reveal the scholarship total for the class. So that's how we get that information. We don't know that they were awarded anything unless you let us know. It's also listed in the program at graduation. Under your senior's name is every school or institution that offered them any financial assistance. Not the amount, that's confidential, but we want them to be recognized for their hard work. We're going to make that final college choice, which must be done by May 1st. Again, we'll talk to your seniors about that at their spring meeting. And obviously, we're going to graduate. Please find my webpage, lchisum.weebly.com. There's a whole section on there about graduation. I've already got a tab on there, the class of 2023, and we'll be uploading this recording and this PowerPoint to that. So if you need to make reference back to it or share it with any of your friends that weren't able to attend. But you'll be going to that website often. The graduation dress code's on there, and all sorts of information. My website is lchisum, CHISUM.weebly.com. And you can link to it from the AHS website if you go to guidance and then just click on me, it'll take you right to it.
For the senior parents to be, which is you, be on the lookout for a letter this summer that Ms. Chisum is going to send you with information that you need to know. We have senior parent roundtables that we've been doing for a few years, and we really love that. Those are smaller roundtable sessions that start in September, and we send that out well ahead of time. We have we have parents who are on the roundtable who have had graduates. We have 2 administrators on campus, Mr. Gibson and Dr. Turner, who have had seniors come through the school, and they're on this roundtable too. And it's really about you all talking about where you are right that minute in the experience. And everybody's kind of sharing about the application process or the tours or questions that they have. And it's really, really been good for parents to hear other parents communicate, because we always have parents who've had graduates and have a current senior come back. And it's really sharing sessions. So Ms. Chisum is going to roll that out. We always have that in the library, and we definitely encourage you to come. And that is about 3 or 4 times a year that we, critical points. September, October, and then in the spring we have a few more. Just when Ms. Chisum was talking about those financial award letters are rolling in, there are a lot of questions about that, a lot of questions about housing. So they've run the gamut of conversations that parents are having with each other and sharing. So we encourage you to do that. Verify that your email is correct in PowerSchool. The attendance office takes care of correcting that if it's wrong. We always encourage seniors that you're in a safe place this last year of high school before you go in the big bad world. And we encourage you to self-advocate for yourself. Yes, they come to us for guidance, they come to you for guidance, and we talk through the situations and encourage them to advocate for themselves. And sometimes they just need that little extra push. So we always are doing that from day one when we have the seniors. Schoology, if you're not already signed up, that's rolled out again every beginning of every school year so that you can see what's going on with your seniors. Again, as Ms. Chisum mentioned, the realistic financial conversation with your seniors, and then of course taking care of those senior photos in the summer to make sure that you get a good slot to have those pictures taken. And then that again is roundtable that we have, and we'll roll out that information again in the fall. And those are always 7:05 in the morning, and usually till right about 8 o'clock, because we know people have to get to work.
I want to make one more point about self-advocacy that Ms. Dixon made reference to. It's real confusing, and this happens sometimes when the parent has filled out all the applications, the parents requested the transcript, and we have questions about it because I'm needing to do a recommendation, or I'm needing to send a follow-up, or Ms. Buchanan's not really sure about the transcript and the location or address. And we call the senior in, and the senior has no idea because the parent has done all that. We really want your senior next year to either be with you or taking care of this on their own. They need to be getting out there. As Ms. Dixon said, this is a safe place. This is the time to start advocating. Come in and ask Ms. Buchanan if they've got questions. Come in and talk to Ms. Dixon or myself. We've been doing this a long time. No questions silly or crazy. But we want them to start taking care of these matters. Even if you're assisting, we want them to come in and find out about it and start practicing that. I did add this slide up there. You're going to hear a lot next year about THEC and TSAC. As I told you earlier, TSAC is the Tennessee Student Assistance Corporation that oversees Hope Lottery and Promise and other state scholarships. THEC is the Tennessee Higher Education Commission, and they're over the governing body over all the 4-year and 2-year schools in the state of Tennessee. And they are hosting these sessions for juniors and their families. It is one recorded session. as you can see, but for multiple days. It started on March 22nd through April 26th, and I've given you the link there to that webinar, but they are presenting some information from their point of view. So I just wanted to give you that other resource if you wanted to check that out.
I will say that's one good thing that's come out of COVID. You'll see that a lot in the fall in Ms. Chisum's newsletter, that they do a lot of webinars about financial aid and information, the college admission process. For senior parents, they record it and they leave it up there a while. So that's a really good thing. And Ms. Chisum rolls all that information out to you. This is just the last screen with our contact information. If you need it, and our phone numbers, of course, emails. As you know, we live in this email world. It tings and we're looking. And so certainly if you have any questions or concerns, you can email us. Or if you have questions now, we're opening the floor if you have questions. We've said a lot, we know. Oh, one thing that we do point out to the seniors in the fall is once you start applying to colleges, make sure that you're using a personal email, and that's even for Tennessee Promise. That's when they're doing dual enrollment. That's when they're setting up like fastweb.com. We tell them to do private, because once they graduate, those emails disappear. So we've told like the current seniors, if you've got stuff on your emails that you love or things that you want to transfer off that iPad, go ahead and do that. But we do encourage them to do all of that with their personal email. Yes, ma'am.
Just for clarification, this is my second senior. Our first one is graduating from UT in May.
Congratulations.
And we've learned a few things along the way with the help money. I know it says it's $17.50 a semester, and it goes up from there, which it did for her. But what we did not understand, I guess, that we learned along the way is it's good for 120 hours total. And so after she used some of that for some summer school classes, you do run out. So the last 2 semesters, she's had no help because she used it during the summer. And so that was something we didn't really, that didn't click with us on the front end when we were planning all this out. So that just might be something that might be important.
So this parent was making a great point about Hope Lottery money, where Mrs. Chisum was talking about freshman and sophomore year is $17.50 per semester. Mom was saying along the way, financial office shared with you that when you take summer classes and you're eating away at Hope Lottery, so that as they were planning, they found that some of that money ran out. So your baby's a senior now.
120 hours.
Good for 120 hours.
Regardless of when you use it. It says per semester, yes, but it's 120 hours.
One thing that has come out a few years in the senior roundtable is when your child goes for, if this is the route they're going, 2-year or 4-year college, if they're going for freshman orientation, you as the parent can schedule a meeting with the financial aid office. So your visit is twofold. They're setting up their classes and you're talking to them about financial aid. And so we always encourage parents to do that on that front end in the summer. And so that's a great point. Thank you so much for sharing. Yes, learn as you go, right? Thank you for sharing that. Any questions? Any other questions? Yes, ma'am.
I do have one about, my son and I, over spring break, we went to visit UT. He's interested in UT, and they cautioned us to make sure that you decide if you're going to apply as test optional or not, because that is an option now. And they said if you have submitted your application, they said once you've submitted it, then they will look at your ACT scores. So you have to make that decision before you apply if you're going to go test optional or not. So something maybe to caution the seniors.
And we talk about everything. So the question is.
The question is about test optional. When you apply, test optional came about during COVID. Like, as I said, Ms. Dixon, I've been doing this many, many years, and that was never even on the plate. At some colleges, because of cancellations of ACT and so forth and so on, they were not including ACT. And you're exactly right. You've really got to read the fine print. Every college is different on there. There are some colleges in our state, I'll give you an example, that you can go test optional, but you're not considered for any scholarships if you don't submit your ACT. So that's kind of the fine print. So it's not just like, oh, well, that's great, don't do that. In talking to college reps, which I do a lot, they are often what word will I use? They often question why a test wasn't submitted, and a lot of times they'll call me, Ms. Chisum, we got this application for this senior, and he's got a 4.2. Why wasn't there an ACT submitted? That they question it. So you really want to, and there are some situations this year where we advise them to go test optional and not. But it's an individual thing. It's not just a blanket decision, we're definitely going to do that. It depends on the school, it depends on the criteria and specifics at that school. Sometimes even if your score is not a 30, it's okay. We still need to send it. We still need to show that you have taken it 2 or 3 times, you've taken it seriously, you're making an attempt to improve those subject areas. So that's really an individual decision. But a lot more schools are doing that, but they do question that a lot. So I'm glad you brought that up. That's a good point. Yeah, and that's part of the seniors will hear that in their fall presentation. We'll go over all this plus a ton more with them and give them the hand, but they'll tell all sorts of them. After that day, they're going to say, I thought those ladies would never stop talking because we've got so much to push out to them to get them up and going because it's such an exciting time. Any other questions? I know a lot of you got to get to work and get on with your day, and a lot of you got a 3-day weekend like we do. But any other questions? Please do not hesitate to reach out to us should you have any, and we look forward to working with you next year. We really, really do, certainly with your senior.
Thank you for coming.